Everyone, in today's episode, I'm going to discuss cheap Sydney suburbs. It's been a request of everyone. It's been a video quite largely followed by a lot of people, but the things I'm going to get in today are, number one, what drives the Sydney market, number two, the minimum purchase price. And when I do this episode, I'm only recommending suburbs that literally I would personally purchase in, and it's because you can't sacrifice capital growth just to get in the market. It does not work, and I don't want people to be doing that. So again, I might say cheap Sydney suburbs, but it's the cheapest ones I would actually buy. And so don't hate me, people. It's just I can't physically tell people to buy things I wouldn't do. But the suburbs we'll get into are under 1.5 million, 1.5 to 2 million, 2 to 3 million, 3 to 4, and then $4 million plus. Let's get into it. So look, what drives the Sydney market? There's a couple of things that we need to get into here. First of all, it's the demographics, so where the wealthy people live and where all the money is going. Secondly, it's the restriction of supply, so it's certainly not in the West where there's unlimited land supply, not unlimited, but a lot of new estates going out there. Third and fourth is your employment hubs and the proximity to the CBD. A lot of the good employment hubs, unfortunately, happen to be around the CBD or within about a 10 to 15k proximity to it. So it does play a part. Another thing is the proximity to the water, proximity to our waterways, the harbour, the Georges, Botany, the Hacking, Pittwater, Middle Harbour. They all play a large part in the Sydney market. Another thing very big in Sydney is the school zones. So, a lot of especially private schools, the upmarket private schools have a massive part in the Sydney market. And finally, you have council zoning. So some councils are less development pro than others, and then international bans and others. So that's going to become prominent, especially over increasing immigration time period. Look, your minimum purchase price really is around 1.5 million. You can get away with just 1.5 million or under it. This is suburb dependent. You're not buying in Wallara for $1.5 million. That's ship sailed 15 years ago. But again, like as I said, unfortunately, purchasing the poorer neighbourhoods will only further price yourself out of the better suburbs. So do not purchase in Penrith. Please do not purchase in Penrith. You cannot get a worse possible place to purchase in Sydney than that. Just buy in another city, buy in Newcastle, Wollongong or the Central Coast. Don't buy in Penrith. It's the same distance away anyway. You might as well buy somewhere that has a nice lifestyle and that will do well. Look, aside from, I will say if you have to buy there, you have to for family circumstances. I understand that. But if you have the option, do not buy there. It's simple as that. Let's start off with your best suburbs under $1.5 million. And this is bloody hard to do, I'll tell you right now. And it's simply because it is, there's barely a thing in Sydney that's under $1.5 million. But I'm going to start off with a suburb called Belmore. And yes, I'm a Bulldogs fan. I grew up in the inner west of Sydney. I love the Bulldogs. Don't hate me for this. But I'm telling you right now, Belmore is one of the best suburbs you can buy under $1.5 million in Sydney, 100%. You've got I'd say it's not, I wouldn't even call it a developing suburb anymore. It has quite a large Greek and Italian population, and obviously Lebanese as well in some of the parts closer to Campbelltown. You got an Orthodox church there. Obviously, you got the Bulldogs Belmore Stadium there too. But the suburb's got quite a nice town centre. It's quite neat. It's not actually that dirty. It's actually on that metro line that's going to be completed later in the year, which is great. It'll only I think be something like 18 minutes or something to the CBD, which is really short if you consider even by train line standards, that's very close. But not only that, like I said, that metro line access is going to really change it quite a lot. Like you're going to have services that go right out to even Bankstown as well. That actually does have a bit of employment now too, and it's actually got the university there too, Western Sydney campus too. So it's going to change the whole area, and that whole train line with that metro going in is going to change. And to find something that is genuinely, even as a median under 1.5 million, you're doing very well. So look, I know I'm a little bit biased, but please consider Belmore. It is quite a good suburb. Look, another one I want to consider, and yes, I went to school down this way, is Southernland. So I went to school at Endeavour Sports High, so that's in Caringbah, so it's not overly far from Southernland. But Southernland is around $1.5 million, and you're still picking up detached houses there. But the thing about Southernland is it's basically like your home of the Southern Shire, as I've said before. Look, it is obviously one of the main train lines, so you get express trains from Southern that literally stop, at Hurstville, Walleye Creek, Redfern, and Central. So it's like literally, 4 stops to the employment hubs and CBDs of Sydney, and it takes, literally 25 minutes to half an hour, depending on which one you get, depending on if, they're a little bit caught up or they drive a little bit slow. But I've caught it before, like I used to go through Southernland to get down to Wollongong, so I know it. It's got quite good lifestyle areas as well. You're only about 15-20 minutes from Cronulla Beach. Very close to National Park as well. If you want to get to Audley, it's only about 20 minutes away. Really nice area, and it's completely landlocked. Look, it really is the facility centre of the Southern Shire as well. So this is just overhead of Google Maps, just searching up facilities, and you can see how many different things are here. So obviously there's quite a few, aged care things that are around there, which is good. But you've obviously got, the town centre, the ovals. You've got obviously the basketball courts, the fields, everything like that too. And it just connects the whole Shire very well. So good area to buy, especially if you have under $1.5 million. So consider Southernland most definitely. Let's get into $1.5 to $2 million, and it surprises me that this suburb's still there, and that suburb is Leichhardt. And I know I've mentioned it plenty of times. I'm going to continue mentioning it because if it's good priced and it's a good suburb, what is the wrong thing with mentioning a very good suburb? So I'm going to continue to do that. So Leichhardt, you're still picking up under $2 million. And look, everyone will know, who knows Leichhardt, knows the Italian history there, the rich culture, the Italian festival that goes on. How close is the city, the CBD, just really nice suburb. But look, the village is beautiful, and you can see just here that's basically the Italian festival that happens yearly. But the income's very good too. So this is just, from census, you'll see the state average, and New South Wales is above the national average, mind you. So I didn't even include that because I don't need to alone. But you can see, the income's 50 to 60% or so more just on personal. So it goes personal, family, then household, than the actual, state average. So you got very good income there. You've also got a longer term resident population, which means you also have a very high equity value. You got great buses, a light rail line in the north that goes straight to the city, and a great lifestyle area. Like some parts of Leichhardt, a walkable distance down to even Bay Run as well. So really good there. Love the area. Good place to buy. Consider Leichhardt if you have that budget. Want to get into another suburb again? People might think I'm biased, but again, the only thing I care about is it well priced and is it going to make money longer term? And that suburb is Caringbah. Look, this is just towards the southern end of Caringbah, so that's just by the Hacking. Just some beautiful places there. Really nice area. Look, Caringbah really, I think it's the cheapest beachy kind of suburb in all of Sydney. You can pick up Caringbah for, $1.6 to $1.8 million, and it is literally, 10, probably even less than 10 minutes, probably 8 minutes from Cronulla Beach. On the train line, you actually have the express trains that only stop all stations from Cronulla to Southernland, and then again, like I said, go literally Hurstville, Walleye Creek, Redfern, Central. So there's not many stops even in the CBD. It takes, about 35 to 40 minutes. It's pretty good for an area that's close to the beach, and pretty good for an area as well that I'd say still has larger blocks. You still have blocks down in Caringbah that are 500 to 600 metres squared. So, for people that like this sort of old school Aussie sort of big backyard home on a block, good suburb to consider for that. Really cheap for where it is as well. Woolooware, the neighbouring suburb, is above $2 million. So it's, your discount there's a couple $100,000 alone. Your income's not too bad in Caringbah either. So let's just consider that when, buying for $1.5 to $2 million. Definitely consider Caringbah 100%. Let's get into $2 to $3 million, and people aren't going to like me doing this because it's obviously not overly cheap, but these suburbs are cheap for that bracket. That's where I'm going to go with this. Look, that suburb I'm going to mention is a suburb called Kingsford. So for those that don't know Kingsford, it's basically just south of the UNSW University. A lot of people actually park in Kingsford to walk to uni, funny enough. But Kingsford's it's just west of Coogee Beach. Really, really good suburb, really close to everything. You got the light rail line and everything there. But look, Kingsford really it's a wealthy yet quiet neighbourhood. So this is just off a news article online, And it's just basically in the Randwick Council region, but it's right near the uni, it's right near the light rail line, it's right next to basically the Children's Hospital. I mean, it's close to a lot of employment hubs. It's close to Bondi Junction, close to the city, close to Alexandria, Beaconsfield, close to Randwick, South Everleigh. It's I mean, within 20 minutes of pretty much all the best employment hubs of Sydney, aside from probably your North Sydney precinct. So, it's close to all of them. In Kingsford, you actually still do get homes on blocks. So you get homes still on like maybe 350 to 400 metres squared. It doesn't sound like a lot for people from outside Sydney, but for the eastern suburbs, that is a very, very good lot for people that don't know. So great suburb to consider. Kingsford, definitely a good suburb to consider. And if you've got that $2 to $3 million budget, you're not going to find much better than this, especially in Sydney's east. So consider Kingsford 100%. Look, another suburb I really like, and it's one of my favourite in the whole country, to be honest, is a suburb called Rosehill. So Rosehill happens to sit on the Belmore Peninsula there, so it's only about 6 k's from the CBD. It's very, very close to Sydney CBD, and it's along Bay Run. So this is just a photo of Rosehill on Bay Run. Beautiful area. I actually run Bay Run try to weekly if I can. Great suburb to buy in though. Look, the reason Rosehill really is so good is first of all, it's got a great village, particularly when you go towards the Belmore Peninsula. So that's especially the northern end of Victoria Road of Rosehill. That area, I mean, it's got to be up there with the best places in the whole country to buy. I mean, the reason for that also is because of the gentrification that's happened in the suburb. Look, Rosehill does have very high median income, and that's predominantly because of the number of professionals that actually are in the suburb. So you'll see here, professionals and managerial employees make up literally nearly 70% of the whole suburb. It's about 67 to 68% of the suburb, right? And that's, very, 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 very high. That's higher than even the New South Wales average and well higher than the national average, right? So that's what's driving the growth here. So look, consider Rosehill. You're still picking up Rosehill for, low 2 mils. It's very achievable for a dual income professional family if you've got that, $350K plus a year. I shouldn't say that's probably a little bit inconsiderate. I mean, for people that are dual income, sort of higher sort of paid professionals, it's still actually achievable if you have the deposit. So if you want to live there with a nice village and, close by to the CBD, consider Rosehill. Mind you, just for people that don't know Rosehill, it's probably not for someone who wants to have a boat caravan and everything like that too, because there's not much parking around some parts of Rosehill. So it's probably more for your sort of city lover professional person. As you might have previously seen, I've discussed suburbs that have sort of more space, like Caringbah is one, for example. Belmore's probably another. Southernland's another. So consider other suburbs as well if you have a boat caravan and everything like that, because Rosehill's a sort of smaller lot suburb, but great for your city, village, and sort of close sort of towny lifestyle. Really good for that. Good if you like a pub crawl or something like that too. Let's get into your sort of $3 to $4 million bracket. And $3 to $4 million, funny enough, in Sydney is hard to find a suburb that I consider cheap, because they're not really cheap, but it's got to be cheap for the region. And one I'm going to get into is quite a popular one. It's Bondi Junction. So look, Bondi Junction's surrounded by very expensive suburbs. I like to most of the east. So, Bondi Beach, Wallara, all these, Queen's Park, all these sorts of suburbs that are around it, are all well above the $4 million mark. But Bondi Junction basically connects them all. Obviously, it's the home of the main bus station. There's quite a few good jobs around there. You can see the Combank building just here in Bondi Junction as well. You've got obviously the station there too. And a lot of people want to live here in this area. You're just down the hill to Bondi Beach, and you're not far away from, Double Bay or anything like that either. Just kind of slightly just past Wallara, and you're down the hill to Double Bay as well. So great location for that. Look, not only that too, if you want to go to, Centennial Park, you want to go to the SFS, most people can even ride a bike or walk there if they're game enough. Beautiful area. You can't get a much better location than that. The land supply is completely locked, especially if you could get a detached dwelling or even a semi-detached one in a quieter street. Longer term, this is going to do exceptionally well. So I mean, you're not getting a better location than that in Sydney for under $4 million. Bondi Junction is one of the best locations I can think of. Another one, and this really surprises me that this suburb's actually at this price, but it's a suburb called Waverton. So for the people that don't know where Waverton is, look, it's basically just south of Wollstonecroft and just north of McMahon's Point. It's kind of just on the lower North Shore, just the inner west of the North Shore, it's just on the inner west of the North Shore. That's basically where it is. But you have, I mean, outstanding views of the harbour, particularly if you're on the sort of western side of the train line of Waverton, or even closer station a detached dwelling. I mean, I can't think of many suburbs that would be this cheap in that location. Like, even if you go further west, like to Greenwich or even Northwood, Longaville, Riverview, which are further from the city and not on a train line or anywhere near, they are close to North City, but not as close as Waverton. Like, I mean, they're like $5 and $6 million bucks. So Waverton's so underpriced for where it is. I mean, it is so underpriced for where it is. Like, really, I can't think of anywhere that's that underpriced for the area, apart from probably Bondi Junction. But really, no one really knows Waverton. It's funny because I talk to a lot of people that even live, in Neutral Bay and Mossman, and they don't even know much about Waverton alone. So, look, it's actually known, this is just off domain, the under-the-radar suburbs that people don't like to leave, and this is just literally by the foreshore of the lower North Shore. There's great, beautiful tracks you can walk down, really good, harbour frontage there, and I mean, you can literally in some pockets walk to North Sydney CBD, or just get the train is close to almost most pockets of the suburb, and I mean, it's literally only a couple of stops to the CBD. It's insane how close it is to the CBD. It's like 4Ks or something of the CBD. And it is literally, there's pockets that are actually quiet and lovely. So for that to be under $4 million is insane. For people that don't know where to buy or that, please reach out, because I mean, if you don't know how to source in this suburb, you don't have, a way of getting the right stock in the suburb, it becomes very difficult, because a lot of these are exclusively sold off market, these good deals. And not only that too, but you also need to know where something's priced at and how to bid, because a lot of these do go to auction as well. So look, if you have that budget, consider Waverton. Very, very good suburb as well. Look, very hard to do, but the cheapest suburbs that are $4 million plus that are very underpriced in my view, it's so hard to say because people aren't going to like me saying that, but one that I do really like, and is so underpriced in the area, is Rose Bay. Rose Bay happens to be, look, I hate to say it, it's about $6 million, but for where it is insanely good. It occupies one of the best harbour fronts of, all of literally Sydney. Mike Cannon-Brookes, one of the co-founders at Lashian, owns Fairwater there, which is one of the most expensive homes in all of Australia, the Fairwater estate. That's in Rose Bay on Old South Head Road. And I'll tell you right now, this is situated between literally Vaucluse and Bellevue Hill and Point Piper, which Vaucluse is about $8.5 million. Bellevue Hill is about $10 million and Point Piper is about 20. So Rose Bay is very underpriced compared to those. I'll tell you right now, 100%. And it is basically one of the most expensive suburbs in all of Sydney. Another domain article, again, Rose Bay, the exclusive Sydney pocket with harbour views and some homes worth tens of millions of dollars. Again, Mike Cannon-Brookes bought his home for, $100 million here. There's regularly sales here above 40 million, very regularly. Every couple of months there's a couple that go even above 60 million here. So very good suburb. You got a really good village, great dock there, great sort of lifestyle around Rose Bay as well. Really, really good suburb. If you have that money, it's not going to be for everyone. If you have around 6 to 6.5 mil, you can afford this, especially if you're happy to get your hands dirty. It's a very good suburb to buy here if you have that kind of money. Another suburb, and again, funny enough, this suburb you actually can pick up in sort of the low 4 mils, which is insane because it's probably one of the most beautiful suburbs in the entire world, is Manly. Now, I do go between the beaches now and as home, so I might be a little bit biased, but if you just look at the photo here, look at the Manly Peninsula, really, You got the harbour, you've got, Shelley Beach, you've got the beautiful walks, you've got, the office. For people that don't know, that's a place that everyone goes and you can drink alcohol by the afternoon there. It's called the office because people used to say to their bosses, "Where are you?" And, they'd say, "I'm at the office," but they're out having a beer on a Friday arvo. Then you got obviously the Manly Beach, you got Queenscliff Beach in the distance. Just look at the harbour there, look at how beautiful it is. Manly's got a bit of employment. You've got the ferry to the city. You've also got buses to North Sydney and Chatswood for other jobs as well. It's completely landlocked. Good luck finding a house like there that's for sale that isn't going to go for over $4 million, but that's a very good price for where it is. Manly was a top 100 performing suburb in Australia, and it's probably going to continue to be that. It'll probably be a top 50 suburb in the country longer term, and it's one of the best lifestyle. So I think it's probably the best lifestyle suburb in the country. That and North Bondi probably are the best in the whole country, but North Bondi doesn't have the harbour, but Manly does. So, if you're someone that really wants to buy in, one of the best suburbs, I think this is it. This is just an article off, I think it was off Time Out from memory, the Sydney suburb that people want to move to the most, and everyone says it's Manly. So that's just something to consider as well. But look, probably the best suburb, I think, in terms of lifestyle, probably the country, really, it probably is. Consider Manly. Reach out if you're thinking of buying there, want to buy somewhere you're never going to want to leave. But for everyone that watched, thanks again for watching. Look, it's been a good episode. I love doing this. Sydney's my favourite city in the world. But check out, on the website, just check out Premier Properties for people that really want to invest longer term. It's properties that have above 9%, generally a total return of 13% plus. So that's initially you got your 30-year core logic capital growth, and then you got your gross rental yield up front. Look, the reason I say I'd probably prefer 9%, roughly 9% capital growth or more up front in terms of your total return is because your internal rate of return is higher. For those that don't understand why, it's because rental yield slides down over the long term. If you have somewhere around 9% and somewhere around 4% yield, so capital growth and yield up front, over the long term, your internal rate of return will be closer probably to 11 to 12%, something like that. Whereas if you had 7%, yield and let's say 6% capital growth and 7% yield, your internal rate of return over the long term would probably be somewhere closer to probably 10%, maybe even a little bit under. And when I say long term, I mean 20 years or so. So that's the important thing, because capital growth will always outdo rental yield. It'll do 7 to 10% in the best suburbs longer term, but yield can only do 3 to 4%. So exponentially year after year after year, prices will outperform yield. And the reason and the proof of that is if it didn't, and let's say it did 7 to 10%, rent on average in Australia would be somewhere like $2,500 to $3,000, but it's around $650 to $700. So don't believe that bullshit. So that's the reason I do that. So check out Premier Properties on my website. You just have to sign up. Very easy and simple to do. And if you want to buy a property, please reach out just by the links below. There's my phone number. There's also an email, and you can also book a consult just via the website. Thanks again, everyone. Happy New Year, and thanks for watching. Cheers.